Do I look excited? Because I definitely am. In this box, I've got the new Bergara Ridge Carbon in 6.5 Creedmoor, and in this video, we're gonna get totally hands on it. We're gonna put it through its paces, so check it out. Hey there, Gavin Gear here from UltimateReloader.com. This year at the SHOT Show, I was hanging with my friend Colin Russell at the Bergara booth, and we looked at all the new stuff from Bergara, and this was one of those things, the Ridge Carbon Wilderness. And I thought to myself, now that is a good value. Coming in the mid-1500s, it's got a carbon barrel, it's a lightweight config, it's got a hinged floor plate. For that lightweight, sort of budget-oriented, reasonable cost rifle, this is looking awesome. And I'll tell you, Guy Miner on our team is already trying to steal this to take it hunting. So without further ado, we're gonna get this out of the box. We're gonna put this through its paces. We're gonna get an optic mounted. We're gonna test it out. We're gonna bring you all those analytics and insights. So I'm gonna waste no more time and get this out of the box. Okay guys, this is a simple one. We've got the rifle itself, which looks awesome. We've got a thread protector in case we decide to take off the Omni brake. We've got our owner's manual and other paperwork that comes with the rifle. Next, let's talk quick specs. So this rifle has an MSRP starting at $15.99. There's a bunch of different options here in terms of calibers. So we'll get to that in just a moment. That's going to affect price. Weight starts at 6.4 pounds, which I think is going to be true of this version here. This should be the minimum weight config. Number 6, carbon fiber barrel. I've had really good luck with Bergara carbon fiber barrels. The one on my B14R is an absolute tack driver. Totally love it. Sniper gray Cerakote. We've got a synthetic stock, the 2-lug bolt. These are all the things that we're used to on some of the high-end Bergaras that I've shown here on the channel. Hinged floor plate, like I mentioned, that's going to keep the weight down, and we have a 4-round capacity with 6.5 Creedmoor, which is plenty for my hunting needs. It comes with the Omni brake. I love the fact that that is standard, so we've got 5/8 by 24 threading on the muzzle. This one is chambered in 6.5 Creedmoor, but it's also available in 6.5 PRC in the everybody's favorite 308 Winchester and also 300 Win Mag. Okay, I've got something else to show you here. The scope we're going to put on is the Leupold-VX 5HD 3-15 by 44. I think this is going to be just an absolutely great complement to this rifle because a kind of min-spec conventional low-grade hunting rifle scope is going to be a 3-9, something like that for deer hunting. Well, this goes all the way down to 3 power, but instead of being limited at 9, we're able to go all the way to 15 power. It's got this really cool zero stop on it, which is familiar from my Mark V HDs that I love on my tactical rifles. And it's got HD glass. It's got side focus, a feature that you're not going to find on all hunting rifle scopes. It is waterproof, it's fog proof, it's shock proof, and it comes in at 19.7 ounces weight. So I can imagine what this is going to look like with it all together, but what I'd rather do is just get straight to mounting the scope. I'm going to get it out and start breaking it in. So quick note about what comes with the Ridge Carbon. Bergara installed this 20 MOA rail on the rifle for me, but that does not normally come with the rifle. We're going to use these hybrid rings from Hawkins Precision. These take the place of the rail. They have a built-in 25 MOA cant, so it's really great for long-range hunting applications. They're lightweight, they're precision machined, and they also have this integrated level, which I absolutely love, to not have to think about a separate bubble level for that long-range shooting scenario. Okay, so I'm going to get this scope installed. Our scope is mounted. So this scope installation was a little bit different. Instead of the typical rail, there was a 20 MOA rail on the rifle that Bergara sent to me, not normally included with the Ridge Carbon, just as a side note. That's something that you can source and get what you want for that. Instead, with these Hawkins Precision hybrid rings, the ring bases take the place of the rail itself. So they mount directly to the receiver. There's the integral 25 MOA cant. So I started by attaching those to the action, and I used a torque screwdriver for that because the torque is important for that particular installation. And I have these in the forward position. I put the scope on the ring bases and felt like, hey, you know, this is a pretty good eye relief right here where you see it right now. Installed the caps and then torqued those carefully down in a cross pattern. And again, it's nice to have rings that don't need a separate base. It's nice to have the integrated level and an overall precision and lightweight design. And was careful to level the scope body to the rifle so that I know that that's a more accurate way to go than using the turret cap to perform the installation. After that, it was time to break it in. So for the sight-in, I followed my normal procedure. We went up to the mid-mountain range where we've got a 100-yard range. I set up the Sinclair bench rest. I've got a separate leather bag for sporter type forend. That worked great. And got a bore sight set up, right? Looking straight down the bore at the 100-yard target and lining things up. First shot was not on target, so I actually looked through the bore again and saw that I was slightly off. So I corrected that. Basically, you look through the barrel and it's almost like a double aperture. The back of the barrel appears larger than the front, right? You get those perfectly lined up. You get your 8.5 by 11 piece of paper lined up, which just about fills a 6.5 millimeter barrel perfectly, so it's pretty easy to center that. And then you adjust your scope turrets until the reticle agrees with that. So it's centered up on the target. I put a target spot right in the middle. So the second shot was down here, got it on paper, and then I did some sight in here with several shots, kind of working my way in towards the center. I then proceeded to shoot two groups. The first group measured 0.825 inches, still getting the rifle settled into the rest. And the second group is these three shots here, which went into 0.502 inches. Technically, that's a sub half MOA. And again, still getting my sight in done. I did notice a little bit of thermal shift with the carbon barrel. And this is something I've seen with every carbon barrel that I've shot. As they heat up, they walk one direction or the other. This one, when it was warming up, would have a tendency to go slightly up. And so when I did my cold bore shots as follow-up, they were slightly lower than that. I zeroed to the cold bore, and as you can see here, 3 sequential shots going into a ½ inch means I know if I'm out hunting, that's totally not going to be an issue. It's just something to be aware of with any carbon barrel that you're going to run. At this point, we were ready to go out and shoot for real. So this is when the fun really started. We jumped back in the side-by-side and drove up the Jeep Road to the Ultimate Reloader Ridgeline range. This is more than just a range, it's an experience. We set up one of our DM targets. We have this folding multi-use stand and we're able to put it right near the 100-yard backstop. Because of fire danger right now, I'm trying to put targets, steel targets, where they're not around dead grass and that kind of thing. So we hung a small IPSC target at 100 yards and went back to the firing line, and I shot from 2 different positions. First, off of a barricade, just to get kind of settled in with a bag. And no problem, 3 sequential shots on the target, which is about the size of deer vitals. That's kind of why I set this up. And then I did some standing shots. And you know, you might assume a normal hunter's pose. I did kind of more of a NRA high power type posture because I'm a lot more steady that way. In fact, if I was out hunting, I would probably do that. And again, no problem getting 3 sequential shots off on a deer vital size target, which means I'm totally comfortable with this rifle, probably out to maybe 150 offhand like that. Going down to a kneeling position could help to get a little bit steadier. So that was a good confidence builder. And then I took a little bit of a hike with the rifle. I thought, this is a lightweight rifle, I should hike up a steep hillside. So I did that. It was really nice to hike with a lightweight hunting rifle. I've lugged around a lot of heavy rifles. I always go heavy. And this is just such a relief, and it makes it so much more enjoyable. It's just great to not be weighed down with excessive burdens, especially when you're around here. We've got some really steep mountains, and whenever we're hunting, we're inevitably hiking in the craziest of places. So this rifle would be an ideal candidate for hunting deer, hunting bear, that kind of thing around here. So after the hike up the hillside, I made my way down the ridge line to one of our shooting positions that we used in the Rock Chalk Olympics. If you haven't checked out the Rock Chalk Olympics, check that out. We've got a complete playlist. And I shot off of a tank trap just to get kind of another set of experiences with the rifle. And it was very comfortable to shoot off the barricade. Had no problems shooting a Rock Chalk sized target at about 150 yards. Really not that hard of a shot, but a good test of how the rifle is going to work in a variety of different circumstances. And the Leupold-VX 5 HD 3-15 by 44 did really well also. It seems like it's going to be a really good hunting optic. It's got this built-in zero stop, which clicks kind of like a smaller version of the Mark 5 HD that I'm very used to. It's got the side focus. It's a lot more fully featured than your typical bare bones 3-9 scope that a lot of people use, and there's nothing wrong with those. Around here, we're likely to get longer range shots, and being a 6.5 Creedmoor, I think this scope really hits the balance of reasonable weight, compact form factor, and the capabilities both up close and at distances. Like I said, I can go all the way down to 3 like I would on a 3x9, but then I can go all the way up to 15, which just helps to extend the range quite a bit. Next, let's take a look at the trigger. So what we have here is the TriggerScan TS11. This is a high-end laboratory instrument. It's really the only way to adequately quantify the characteristics and the performance of a trigger. So what I'm going to do is 3 different scans. It's going to show us things like the peak force, the travel to actuate, the over travel, all of that. Okay, so let's run this. Okay, so here we have some scans. They look really consistent, which is good. And we have a peak force averaging about 2.0 pounds. Travel to actuate was about 29 thousandths of an inch, 28.5, somewhere in there, average. And over travel was about 50 thousandths of an inch. And so I did notice an adjustment screw. It's likely that this could be adjusted down and up, but for a hunting rifle, I feel like 2 pounds is about right. And if you look at the smoothness and consistency here, there's not a lot of jagged lines here, which would indicate grit, that sort of thing. The graph looks about like it felt to actuate this trigger. Really nice. So if you watched the channel, you might recognize this rifle. We did the first public review of the Bergara B14 squared crest here in the US. This rifle is chambered in 308 and is a good counterpoint to the Ridge Carbon. This has a carbon stock but has a steel barrel, whereas the Ridge Carbon has a synthetic stock and has a carbon barrel. So a nice set of options. The B14 squared crest also has a detachable box magazine, whereas the Ridge Carbon has an internal box magazine. So different form factors, they look a little bit different. Let's see what the difference in weight is. And of course, the optics are not identical here. These are just kind of the way that I had the rifles ready to roll. So the B14 squared crest, ready to roll 8.88 pounds. And Ridge Carbon, ready to roll at 8.31. You're going to feel the difference. You can definitely feel the difference between these two rifles. The B14 squared crest has a bit more heft to it. That might be something that you would want depending on the cartridge. If I was going to go with 300 Win Mag, I'd think long and hard about something a little bit heavier like the B14 squared crest. If you're comfortable shooting a 300 Win Mag and you're up in Alaska, you want to rock the Ridge Carbon, that could be a really good option as well. So different materials, different features, fairly close in weight. So there you go, a comprehensive look at Bergara's new Ridge Carbon in 6.5 Creedmoor. I personally feel like the 6.5 PRC option would be another really interesting configuration for this rifle to look at. I do like the fact that this has a 4-round capacity in the internal magazine. The Magnums have 3, so a little bit of trade-offs there with performance and capacity. Here's what I'd like to know is, what do you think about the Ridge Carbon? I also showed you the B14 squared crest that we recently reviewed. Which would you choose? If you got the Ridge Carbon, what chambering would you get it in and what would you use it for? Drop a comment and we'll start a discussion. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Also, we're on Facebook, YouTube, Rumble, where we've got unrestricted content, and Instagram. Make sure to follow us on all those channels. Ultimate Reloader also has a commercial solutions division serving law enforcement, the military, and the gun industry. We have some unique capabilities, including a comprehensive suite of recoil testing and evaluation capabilities, trigger profiling, and more. If you're interested in custom rifles like what we build here on the channel or gunsmithing services, you're going to want to go to rifles.ultimatereloader.com and get on the wait list. If you want to learn lucrative gunsmithing like what I show here on the channel, including building custom rifles and Cerakote plus a whole bunch more, you're going to want to check out the Colorado School of Trades, schooloftrades.edu. Thanks again for watching.